So, good evening all. Hartelijk welkom. Goedenavond. Here for the people who are at Dalston, Manibara Wish Fulfilling Meditation Center, and I know also quite some people joined for the live stream this evening. So all of you more than welcome, and most of all Lama Michel Rinpoche. Every year you come to visit here the center, so a warm welcome on behalf of the Lama Ganchen International Global Peace Foundation for your visit here this weekend. And yesterday actually we already started in Groningen at the Hans Hogeschool with a beautiful lecture. Many people were there, 240 people. And today we're looking forward to your lecture. That's on the topic, where are you going in such a hurry? A Buddhist perspective on life. And I like to give you the floor. And thank you very much. And then for most people, it's you read the program, but tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, we have also white Tara and green Tara. These are practices in Buddhism that are practiced for many, many, many years, hundreds of years. And Lama Michel is going to give tomorrow explanation and also initiation about both of them. So in case you are curious, also warm welcome to join a part of it, or all, whatever you like.
Good evening. So, as we have always done, I would start with a very short prayer. And I just invite everyone to connect a little bit with gratitude. The prayer that I do in the beginning mainly is to connect with my masters and the masters of my masters, those that have taught me, because if there is anything that I can share today, it's because someone have taught me. So it's a moment of connecting and developing some gratitude. So if you like, just to think about those to whom you have gratitude. Okay? Lojo sambo pagyo tashi pa tuje tembe trinle yarmoda pelge drolor zambe tseparache pande lame shabla solwade Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasaneka Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasaneka Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasaneka Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kudan Dagelu Pakyuke Sundan Dagema Pakyuke Tugdan Dageyin Yerme çıktı çingelo Makyöke kudan da gelo Makyöke sundan da gelo Makyöke tubdan da geyi Yerme çıktı çingelo Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakyamuni Soha. Okay. I'd like to start with one experience of mine and one phrase from a very important master. So this master, his name was Atisha, and he lived in India, where nowadays is Bangladesh, and he went to Tibet in the beginning of the 11th century. And at one point, he was just about to go back to Bangladesh, to Bengali, that finally he didn't go, but at that moment everything appeared like he was going. And the king of the time requested him to give him the last teachings. And he gave this short and beautiful advice. And one part of this advice says something like this. It says, during the day we are distracted. During the night we fall asleep. The life goes by very fast, and soon we die. And he was bringing this fact that we are very often very much distracted. No, our life very often is consumed by life itself. It's consumed by all the aspects of survival, of what you need to do. And when I read this a few times, I always thought, oh, what would Atisha say if he would come to now, 2024, Holland, Italy, whatever, even Tibet. What would Atisha say if he would look at things now? Because in his phrase, there was the part in which he added, he said, the complete part was, during the day we are distracted, during the night we fall asleep. The objects of knowledge are too many, and soon we will die. So we have no time to know everything and to do all of that, because soon life goes by and we are very much consumed by life itself. This is one point. When I arrived to live in Italy, this was more or less 2006. I first stayed for 12 years living in India, where I was studying in a big monastic university called Sera. And when I arrived in Italy, after some time that I was there, I saw that I started to say to people that I didn't have time. So I don't have time. And I saw that to say that I have time, it's not cool. Oh, I have time, looks like you have nothing to do, you are not important. So to be cool, you need to be busy. And I saw that I start entering into that dynamic. So, and it's not only a matter of what I say to people, it's a matter of you end up saying to yourself and the way how you end up living. So this brings this thing of running, of needing to do things fast, of always needing to be busy with something. And one day I looked to myself and I said, it's not true that I don't have time. I do have time. I have the time every day that takes for the earth to turn around itself, for once. My point is not having time. The point is, what are the priorities that I choose? Sorry, it's not true that I don't have time for you. You are not my priority. I know it's nice here to say I don't have time, okay? But the truth is that time is there. I wake up, until I wake up the next day, I can choose if I want to sleep or if I want to eat, if I want to talk to you, if I want to meditate, if I want to study, what I want to do with my life. There is a lot of freedom in between. But the main issue is not even that. Sure, the way how we speak, it directs very much the mind. So even the simple wording, I don't have time, put ourselves into a position of being a victim. Why am I running? Because I don't have time. This is someone else's fault. It doesn't depend on me. It's like time is too short. I have heard this so many times. By simply changing the way how we speak to others, but mainly to ourselves. I say, I do have time. I have the same time in one day that everyone in the past ever had. It's a matter of how I use it. It's a matter of what are the priorities that I give. And if just by changing the way how we speak, it naturally helps us to change the way how we relate to time and to reality. Okay? So this attitude of having no time, of being in a hurry, I thought that was something that was very much present in the context in which I was, which that time was in Italy, 2006. But I don't think here in Holland it's that different. No? And in the past 18 years, what have happened? We have started to do things more slowly, or the speed went up? What is your experience? Went up, no? One time I was in Brazil. I went after some teachings I gave, and we were going back to my mom's house. And on the road, going to her house, there was a moment in which we would always pass a place where there was a gym. And this gym, it was quite big, and it had all the windows looking towards the road, where you could see the people doing exercise inside. No? And one day, very clearly, I saw all these people running, not going anywhere, and going up staircases, not going anywhere. I haven't seen that before. I never go to the gym, so there is this machine for running, this we know, the treadmill, no? But there is also one machine that is like if you are going on stairs, climbing stairs, and actually you are not going anywhere. And then as I looked to that, for me it was so clear that it was like a clear metaphor of what we are doing in our lives. We are running, but if you ask, where are you going? Which is the direction? What are you doing? Very often we really don't know so much. I don't know if you have ever had the sensation of being very busy, and then suddenly you don't have anything to do anymore because you are in vacation, or that job finished, or whatever. And then you have this urge to fill up your life with something. I need to do something. So it became something very important that we always need to do. I remember people coming to me and being quite upset with themselves because, I passed the whole day and I was not productive. I didn't do much today. But this brings me to an important question for myself, which is, truly, what do I want? What really matters the most is to do, to, how do you say in English, to gain and to accumulate more. Because one of the ways, talking not long ago with a friend, he's a quite very wealthy person, and he was upset with himself because he's saying, now I am in my 60s and I have not accomplished much in this life. I didn't make any big money. I am still more or less as my father left me. Okay, I didn't lose money, that's something good. But I didn't make big money, and I didn't do important things in life. And I was looking and thinking, and I say, but how do we measure success? And most of the times we measure success by recognition, by money. That's the main two things, basically. And by what we do. If I invent something important, but again, it's a matter of recognition. If I invent something and everybody says, wow, how wonderful, look, you have invented that, you have done this, you have done that, then I feel like, I have done something. But if we see all these things, they come and they go. They are not able to sustain a state of well-being truly. It's very nice when we have received recognition. I don't know, have every one of you ever received recognition and felt bad about it? Not really, no? Some people, when they receive recognition, they say, no, please don't say anything, you know, I don't deserve it. That's not truly what they feel. You know, it's like this mixture feeling. It's like in Tibet, there is the people from the region of Kham, which is southeast Tibetan, and the central Tibet people. Central Tibet people, they would always say, oh, I don't need, I don't want, please don't tell me. But inside, that's what they most want. No? So like if you go to central Tibet and some people offer you something to drink, if you want to be polite, first you always need to say no. And then they will insist. No? If you go to the Kham region, it's the other way around. You say you want? No, no, finished. No insisting, no? So sometimes we have these ways that we learn through our culture. Okay, I need to be polite, so I cannot show that I really like the recognition, because otherwise I am becoming a person that I'm showing off. So not only I have the recognition, but I also manifest as being humble. Look, I'm even better. Okay. So in a way, what happens is that we do like recognition. We do like when we are able to do things that we feel, oh, it went well, I could do this, that's good, and so on. And truly, I don't see anything that bad or wrong with it. But the main point is, how much can all of this truly sustain our own well-being? Physical, mental, social, environmental well-being. The well-being as a whole. Because truly what we want is that we don't want to suffer and we want to be happy. That's what we want finally, no? So what actually can truly sustain it? And the direction in which most of the time we are going, it's a direction in which actually we run. And the more we have, the more we need. The more we gain, the more we want. And it's not generating this deep sensation of well-being. This is what I see, both in myself and around. Okay. Some time ago, I was listening to a Spanish psychiatrist. And she was explaining something that it made a lot of sense for me. I'm not the best person to talk about this here, okay? Doctor, if anything you feel to add or to correct me, please. It was explaining that our body, it is in its natural way, it's always looking for a way how to bring the body back to balance. Okay, our system as a whole. So for instance, what happens is that when we have a very strong pleasure, we have this very strong kick of dopamine, we experience a lot of pleasure. So in order to try to bring back balance, because that's too much dopamine that we are generating, two things happen. One thing is that the brain starts to hide the receptors of dopamine. So what happens is that we always need more stimulation to have the same level of pleasure. And the other thing is that in order to bring back some balance, when we have too much pleasure, what's the opposite of pleasure? Suffering. This sensation of empty, of something missing. So when we have a lot of pleasure, our system naturally will try to bring us back to some balance by generating the opposite. So what is seen clearly, even like nowadays through neuroscience, for me it's very nice to see a physical explanation of what Buddhism has been talking about for 2,500 years. No? But we see that when we look for happiness, for well-being in something that is momentary, and that's recognition, that's power, that's money, that's physical pleasures of our senses, that's gaining, that's all the pleasures that comes through this process of the I and the my constantly. Do they bring us a state of well-being when we go after all these things? Yes. Is it sustainable? No. Okay. So this brings me to an important question, which is it actually possible to have a well-being that is more sustainable? And this is something that we are looking for. And it's interesting to see, because we come from a place in which, in the beginning, in our society, but not long ago, I think in the time of when my grandparents were young, just before the Second World War, okay? Basically, we lived in a reality in which our survival was not so easily covered. I don't know, how was life here in Holland some 80 years ago? How was tough, or was as now? Was tough, right? It was not obvious to have food and to protect oneself from winter. Winter was cold.
Very cold.
You know, that was the normal thing. In winter, you would go through cold, and pain was part of life, and hunger was part of life, and cold was part of life. And survival was not something that we could take for granted. Then we were able, through a lot of effort in so many levels, to make our survival covered. We don't need to worry. I don't know how many of you ever worry about your survival. How often do you worry that you don't have enough food to eat, or that you will die of cold? We don't at all. Okay? So what happens is that once our survival is covered, on top of that, then this was initially our priority. Once it's covered, we bring another aspect, which is we believe that in order to be happy, I need to have a life that is the most comfortable as possible, where I need to put the least effort as possible. So the less effort I need to put, and the more comfortable I can get, the happier I will be. So we want to have everything easy, everything quick, everything available. If it's cold outside, I need to have the most perfect weather inside. I also like it. Huh? But this is how we live, no? And if we look, the way how we live now compared to 2 generations ago, not even. We are in the God realms, We are living like better than the kings of the past. Much better. Even the food that we eat, basically, if we want, we can have food like every day is Christmas, more or less, no? Before you had special days with special meals, so, that type of food you only would eat once or twice a year was something very special. Nowadays, every day. But the point is that, does this make our generation a generation that is more satisfied, more happy, that has a better well-being than the previous generation? Or not? When you think about your grandparents, when I think about mine, and I look my generation and his and theirs, I say, okay, I think they were better off. Okay. From the point of view of stability, of joy, of satisfaction. Okay. So this brings to a question, which is it right what we are doing or not? Because there's one thing that is in a system as our body and our mind, as our life. We have a very advanced mechanism of alarm. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but the way how I see is that when we do things in a way that brings harmony, we have something showing us you are doing the right thing, which is the sensation of well-being and pleasure. When we live our life in a way that is not healthy, is not good for us, we have the other alarm saying you are doing something wrong, which is suffering. So the symptoms of suffering, they're actually very important. Because the symptoms are showing us something is wrong. No? There is a verse from one text called in Tibetan Gyu Lama, and the translation of it in Tibetan says Neni Shecha Negi Gyuni Panchala. The translation would be something like, the sickness is to be seen, the causes are to be abandoned, the state of health is to be reached, and the process of healing is to be followed. Okay? The symptom is what we see normally. So, what happens when I start having a symptom, and then I see that the other person have the same symptom, and then the other person also have the same symptom? Do we ask ourselves what is happening? Ideally, yes, no? Because if I am having a symptom and you are also having a symptom, something there must be in common between us that we are having the same symptom, right? Okay, so for example, if we all start having headache, we're asking, okay, what is happening that we are all having headache? We start questioning that. So that the symptom is showing that something is wrong. We need to understand what is wrong, and then we understand what is generating that state of unbalance, so-called sickness. Okay? If I look in our society, and I don't mean the society too much in a very broad way, I mean looking at ourselves. We don't need to go even beyond the people that are in this room today. We look to each one of us. How often do you feel stress? How often do you feel this inner feeling of being in a rush, of having no time, of anxiety? It ever happens? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, once a week?
No.
No? I feel when we look, because feeling anxiety, feeling that I have no time, feeling that I need to do and that it's not enough the time, and then this inner speed, having this high speed inside of us. This is a symptom. But is it happening only to me, or you're going through the same things?
Yes.
So the question is, if this is not happening only to me or to each one of you, what are we doing in common? Because something is not being done in the right way if we are having the same results, right? Are we eating the same stuff? What are we doing? And the interesting thing is that this deep feeling of no time, of being in a hurry, of running, and not really having clearly where we are going, and this feeling of insatisfaction and anxiety and so on, it's something that I have been seeing in people everywhere, in Tibet. So it's not something that we eat. Okay? It's not because the place where we live, it's not the Western culture in which we are. It's something that goes beyond. Okay? So I have been questioning myself what it is. The answer that I found for that, I don't know if it's the answer, but one of the answers, I found it one day I was doing the practice of self-healing, not so long ago in Italy. And I was guiding the meditation practice of self-healing. And then there was the part of Buddha Amitabha. And while I was saying the part of Buddha Amitabha, I got an insight. And I even got stuck in that part of the practice. So I was guiding the practice, and then it was the time of Buddha Vairochana, but I repeated Amitabha because I got stuck into that. So what happened is that in this practice, it is showing some steps that we need to follow. And basically it says that first, we need to have satisfaction in order to have concentration, in order to have good communication. Because basically what happens is that if I don't have satisfaction, I have this inner constant urge that I'm missing something and I need something. So it brings this inner dialogue. Okay? So what is this insatisfaction? Is this feeling of when we go through dopamine and we have a strong pleasure, and after that comes this empty feeling of I need more, and our mind starts running around. How can I get it? What can it be? How can I avoid that problem? How can I get that pleasure? this inner dialogue, it's one of the signs of insatisfaction. When we are truly satisfied, which means I am happy with myself and others, things are okay, this naturally brings this dialogue down. Okay? So if we are not satisfied, we will not be able to have good concentration. Because I'm not able to concentrate, to be present in what I'm doing, if my mind is in this incredibly strong dialogue and in this urge of I need something, you know. It's like in Brazil we say, it's this feeling of sitting in a place where it's full of ants. You know, you cannot stay there. You need to move. You need to stand up. I don't know if you ever happened to sit in a place with ants. I had this experience. Okay, when I was a child in Brazil, I sat in a place where there were like a lot of ants. You cannot stay there for long. And sometimes we are there, we try to be doing something, but there is this urge, I need to be somewhere else. I need to think about something else. We are not able simply to stay. And this is one of the very clear examples of what we call insatisfaction. In Tibetan, we use the word gopa. Gopa is also translated as mental agitation. But gopa, this mental agitation, is the result of a strong experience of dopamine. When we go through strong pleasure, this doesn't generate on us this long feeling of well-being and satisfaction. The stronger is the pleasure, the deeper we fall after, and the bigger becomes the hole that we need to fill up again. And I think we all experience it, right? Okay. So, this insatisfaction, because we are projecting our well-being in something that has this mechanism. Basically, this process of pleasure, of gaining, it has this natural mechanism of I have the pleasure and after I have this empty feeling. It's part of a system to make us to move and to go for something, you know. It's our reward system. Okay. But if we project our happiness into that, what happens is that the more I experience this pleasure, the more I will go down. The more I have, the more I want. And when I am into this feeling of I want more, this generates this mind that never stops, that is always talking, always looking for something. If we don't have a good capacity of concentration, we will not be able to communicate well. Because first of all, we are not able to understand well. No? And we see in our society nowadays, more and more we are going into very polarized society. Also here in Holland, no? You look in politics. I have never followed truly Dutch politics. But what I have seen in the United States, in Brazil, in Italy, the countries that I've seen, nowadays when politicians that I have seen, they talk during election period, I've never seen a dialogue actually. I see two monologues. And one trying to find the faults in the other. Or just talking for themselves. Okay? And what is happening is that the more we have this inner level of mental agitation and we are not able to go deep into things. And this doesn't allow us actually to see each other, to be present, and also to deepen our understanding. And this level of superficiality also makes each one of us to be much more vulnerable and we can be manipulated much more easily. And this is something that we see, you know. And one extreme example, one time, not so long ago, came a person that I admire. It's a person that actually has a good level of understanding normally and so on, and came to me quite convinced that some friends were telling her that the world is flat. You know, I don't know if you've ever saw this theory, that our planet Earth is flat. You know, and I was listening to it, And then I said, excuse me, how would be an eclipse of a flat planet? You know? And when I saw that it was so easy to manipulate, so easy. But one of the reasons is that when we don't give us the time and the space to think well, to be present, to go deepen, more and more easily we can be manipulated on so many levels. And when the manipulation is something that is very much near to our own worldview, it's much easier. And it's interesting also because this is not the subject exactly what I wanted to talk, but just I take the opportunity. Normally, what is one of the ways of ourselves to justify if something is right or wrong? You know, everybody says it's right. Everybody that I know. So when I look around me and everyone that I relate to says the same thing, I end up believing it's true. It's like one time in Tibet, there was, in the monastery of Tashilumpu, they were about to remake the roof, the golden roof of the temple. And according to tradition, it is very unauspicious for people to be staring as they put the golden roof. So the guy responsible, he was there wondering how he could make, but people love watching when they do it. Because it happens once every 200 years. I don't know, it was something, a very special occasion. So everybody wanted to see when they were putting the golden roof. So this guy, I don't remember now his name, this was the beginning of the 1900s. He was looking for a solution, how to make people feel the taste with other things if it's not strong. And the mind is the same. If we have a lot of information, our mind loses that capacity at that moment to go deeper and to be more sensitive. So we stop perceiving our own intuition. We stop perceiving the details into things. You know, we enter into a very superficial level if we have too much information. And this is one of the things that we live on. And the other point is that having so much information, whenever we have something new, we feel pleasure. And Buddha Shakyamuni described very clearly that the two main things that we are attached to is sensation and ideas, which he calls sensation and discernment. And we are so much attached to our own sensation of pleasure, and we want to avoid the sensation of suffering all the time. So, whenever we experience something new, whenever we see something new, we listen to something new, it generates a small kick of dopamine. There is a small pleasure coming in. So very often we are looking around for information, not because we are actually interested in the information, but we just want to feel that sensation of pleasure of having something new. It's like most of the times when we read the news or we watch the news, are we truly interested on the subjects and we want to do something about it and to be part of it, or it's pure entertainment? I believe it's entertainment mostly. I want to know it. I want to have the news. That's why we go through the main head titles and we don't even read the subtitles, let alone enter into that article and go deep into it. I saw myself into that dynamic. Then at one point I said, stop. I would go briefly and then I would choose 2-3 articles a day that I like to read from beginning to end. And then I can search something about it. I can go a little bit deeper. I can understand deeper. Because I saw that I was all the time just in a very superficial level doing things. And this generated more anxiety. Okay. So, one time, not long ago, I was reading about a doctor that was helping small children. And this doctor was called because parents had small children that were being diagnosed. Small children, I mean, from 0, like 6 months to 3 years, something like that. And these children, they were being diagnosed as having autism. The symptom that the children had was they were not able to look into the eyes. They were not able to communicate. They had difficulty eating. They were not able to be present and to do something. They were very nervous easily. And they were strongly attached to a screen. And when you took the screen out of their hand, they would start like crying and like if they were being killed and tortured. Okay? And they were not able to communicate, to be present. They were not playing. They were not having fun. They were only that. That was the only thing. And they were even being diagnosed with autism, some of them. So this doctor understood that actually she was looking at them and she saw that they had the same symptoms as the people addicted to drugs such as heroin. So what she did was she simply said, take out the screen. And in the moment that she took out the screen from these children's lives, the phone or whatever, in the beginning was hell. But in a short time, the children started eating again, looking in the eyes again, communicating again. They start getting better as a normal child. In other words, they were addicted. So I asked myself, am I addicted? I believe so, being very sincere. Not long ago, or okay, maybe now, how many? 2 years passed already, actually. I was one night that I should not sleep during the night. My dog had just had puppies. And because of that, when the dog just had puppies, there is the danger that the mother may sleep on top of a puppy, and you need to be there to help. So in the first week, we gave turns, not sleeping. Nothing ever happened, but okay. That was what we were taught, and we did it. So one night I was passing the night and I was not sleeping, and at one point I got bored. I took the phone and I went to this thing. I went to YouTube. Sure, I would not watch a video of mine. So I went and I started looking at something there, and then suddenly I got into this thing called YouTube Shorts. It's short videos, vertical short videos. And I started looking, I said, oh, look, that's nice. And I am a curious person, and I would watch which one. You know, all sorts of things, dogs dancing or whatever, okay, between the images of Buddhas and dogs, all kinds of things were coming up. And then at one point, I saw that 2.5 hours have passed, and I was there. And then I said to myself, stop, and I couldn't. There was like a force draining me towards, And then at one moment I started listening the sounds of the morning. And I said, okay, then the other person came to give the turn. I said, okay, then this changed, and I said, okay, stop. But the worst part is that the next day, when I woke up, and I had a moment in between two things. What do I want to do? Go back there. Okay. So I saw how quickly I could get into that addiction. Which, I'm proud to say that I didn't. I didn't go into it. I am more addicted to the dopamine through the news apps. And I admit that sometimes I go to the news because I'm interested about things, but many times I go to the news simply because it's a habit. And what I want is not the news. What I want is that feeling of pleasure. But what is happening is that one of the dynamics of addiction is that when we have it, we feel the pleasure. When we don't have it, we feel that empty feeling. And we always need more, and we always need more, and we always need more, and it consumes our lives. So I ask myself, how much are we actually addicted? Because this process through the screens that we have, which is the movies, the series, the telephone itself, the emails, the speed that we have on everything, and mainly all of this, it generates a natural process of dopamine, which is the natural process of addiction. It is there. And more it's being proved scientifically and so on. But we don't need sometimes someone to make a research on something that we can see so clearly. So, the reason why I'm talking about this is that there is no point trying to cure the disease if we continue to accumulate the cause of the disease. You know? For me, to say to someone, oh, you need to meditate and breathe correctly. Is it good? It's wonderful. But to say to someone, meditate, and don't say to the person, stop using the phone, you know, it's like giving to someone a sponge in their hand to say you need to take away the water from the floor, but at the same time you leave the tap open. It's even sarcastical somehow, you know. Okay, let's see if you can keep the floor dry. Sure not. How can I keep my mind in a state of calm, of peace, of balance, of inner silence, which is what allows me to go deeper into things, if I'm constantly into this process of stimulation of the senses and I'm into this addiction system? It is not possible. It doesn't work in that way. So, one of the things that we need to change, from my perspective, is this idea that the faster, the better. I think, and we all saw the process, that we have this idea that, oh, we need to do things fast so we have more time for what we like. That was this idea, no? This romantic idea that came with the washing machine and the dishwashers and all the other things to make things fast. And nowadays, you know, we even don't need to get out of our couch. From the phone, we can buy food, we can buy anything we want, we can communicate, we can do everything from that. And I want something, I buy now, I get the other day in the morning. Sometimes I even got, it's like, that's strange, you know. It happened to me like in the evening, I remember I need something, I go there, I buy on the phone, the next day in the morning they're bringing. I said, wow, that's even too much. But what happens? We get used to that way of doing things so fast. And we get into that pace, and we want always more. So we enter into that idea that the faster I do things, the better it is. The less effort I need to put into things, the better it is. And we lose everything that is in between. Sometimes I think about the previous generations where there was no internet. And you ask, how could people do what they did? I look into my family and I always take the example of my great-grandfather. He was a person that he did so much in his life. He created an incredibly big company from zero. He went from being alone, working alone, to having 18,000 workers. Had few factories. He made something in Brazil really big. And this whole thing was possible because he had the possibility to think, to feel, to understand. And sometimes I ask myself, when he went to his honeymoon to New York, because he liked it very much, elevators. So at that time he took my great-grandmother to the honeymoon to New York, because actually he wanted to see the skyscrapers, to see the elevators there. That was his idea. So in between lunches or dinners or things, sightseeings with her, he would go to see some elevators. And then in between all of that, he was able to escape for 2 days, and he went to see one company that he was already working for them, which was Westinghouse at the time. And he had the idea of elevators, but he knew that Westinghouse would never give the maintenance of elevators to someone that they didn't know at all. So he started making maintenance of fridges first. So he would do maintenance of their fridges. And then he got there, and after 2 days with them, he got the contract of the maintenance of elevators. And he was on his way back from New York to São Paulo. It was 2 weeks trip by boat. No, there was no plane. And he had this thick manual in his hand of how to do maintenance of elevators, which he didn't want to do maintenance of elevators. He wanted to build elevators. So he took this 2 weeks time, which had nothing more to do. There was him, the manual of elevators. Okay, my great-grandmother was also there. But he had his full time into it. And what happened? When he reached there, he already had the ideas of how to build his own elevators. And not so long after he started his factory. Small, and then slowly grew. So I question myself, what would have happened if he went to New York on a business class ticket, came back with 20 movies to watch, nice food in between, time to sleep and this and that, and need to answer emails and internet on and all of that. Where would he have found the time and the space to look for the solutions and to have the ideas and to allow himself to follow his dream? I think it would have never happened. So actually, we need to diminish the speed in order to do more. It's like the same thing happens with the relationships that we have. We are always communicating, but often saying nothing. Because we don't create the space to look at each other's eyes and to truly be together. We're always hurrying up, and we never have this quality time together. Because we always need to be somewhere else. We always need to be doing something. Our attention is always into something else. And there is this strange image that I have seen so many times. We are in a restaurant, and then 2 people are there. One stands up to go to the bathroom. What is the other person doing? On the phone right away. Not even 5 seconds. Then when the other person comes back, the first one doesn't put the phone away. And then the one that went to the bathroom takes care of his phone or her phone also. And then they are there, but they are not there. Attention is somewhere else. So we didn't exchange something really. And so we don't go through things. We go to places and we don't experience the places truly. So we do less in a way. So I really believe it is important for us to slow down in order to be able to do more. This is one thing. Because also when we look to people that have done great things, and we ask, I read few biographies, and when they were asked, what is the key to do such great things? And most of them said is intuition. And I'm talking about people doing great businesses. People, I don't know, one person that comes to my mind that was very famous was Steve Jobs. But many others. And they say, okay, no, the key thing is intuition. It's not knowledge. It's not money, but it's the intuition. It's the ability to have that feeling and to follow it and to be able to make it happen. And we are not able to follow our intuition unless we create the space and the silence to listen to it. And as long as we are running, we cannot listen to our intuition. We must create the space. And I think many of you have already experienced the fact of, okay, now I need to stop running. And you get to a place to, okay, now I will rest a little bit, and then you fall completely asleep and there is no energy for anything. You try to read and you cannot read. That's because we are exhausted. And we need to rest. We need to allow ourselves to go back to the normal process of activity and rest You know, we are made of non-cycles. We are not to be the always on, always activated. So this is one point which, it's in a way very simple, but in another way, it's the other side is creating so much trouble without needing to enter into the physical problems that this is creating. Because this state of being always in a hurry, which is coming from this insatisfaction, it's creating this inner dialogue. And the inner dialogue, it's mostly directed towards future and past. And when we are thinking about the future, we are mostly thinking about good things, or we are wondering about threats. Oh, I need to do this because that may happen, and what if it goes like this and that? Most of the thoughts that we have towards the future, they are thoughts that generate in us a good feeling of well-being and nice, or they generate some sort of tension. Most is tension. And how do we react in front of a tension, in front of a threat? We have stress. That's a normal, natural response in front of a threat, with this response of stress. And what does the stress do? The cortisol level goes up. And this generates inflammation. And most of the diseases that very often are now coming up are coming because of chronic inflammation. Also cancer. Someone was telling me that here in Holland, it's one of the countries with the highest level of people having cancer. And the question is, why? Don't you have a good healthcare system? Don't you have good food to eat? I don't see people, okay, in Holland you don't have the kitchen like in Italy. But you are not eating as the Americans, okay? I think the food is quite healthy, that's not the main issue. But there is tension, there is stress. Someone was telling me it's because we are so productive. We always have this thing that we need to be productive. We need to be productive all the time. But the main point for me is that this inner constant dialogue, and I need to be doing something, and so we're always in the future, and this generates this tension, that generates this constant state of inflammation, and this, the body manifests in a way or another. So again, our body needs rest. Our mind needs rest in order for us to be healthy. And rest is not watching television. So what happens is that sometimes we are so much addicted to so much information and stimulation that in order to rest, we need more stimulation. And somehow, you know, we are tired and we watch a movie just because to have some entertainment, and somehow it helps us to sleep, but the quality of the sleep is terrible. It's similar like drinking to sleep. So one of the key points for me is, in order to have a happy, a good state of mind, we must first put an effort to have a healthy lifestyle. Because before I wouldn't talk much about that, but recently I was looking and I was saying, you know, it's not fair to talk to people about meditation when the basic conditions to meditate are not being there. How can I ask you to meditate if the basic conditions to meditate are not there? So first we need to create that basic conditions. So one of the points is there is no need to hurry. Okay, and talking about that, can someone give me a reference of time, please? Because, yeah, just give me here, Elkanah, I keep here then. I can record, I keep the recording and then I can look at that. Thank you. So one point which I wanted today to give some emphasis is we are not the victim in this context of being always running. We are the main actor. And it depends on us. I had an experience not long ago. It was this last, when it was? Yeah, some months ago. I was in Brazil and I had some digestion issues. And my mom asked me, oh, can you go to this doctor, my friend? And he's a psychiatrist, but he's a good doctor. So maybe he has a good intuition for your digestive system. So I went to this doctor, and I was feeling somehow okay. And then he looked at me and he said, I think there is something else there. Look, actually, if I look through your exams, you are in a burnout state. Quite serious. And I was looking, emotionally I was okay, but I was feeling this speed inside. And then I think I came from few years with very intense period. So what I did, I just said to myself, I must allow myself to calm down. I cannot be with this level of how do you say, intention is not the right word, of intensity. I cannot cope after some time. It has been many years and it's always high, 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 high. So I took off 1 month, more or less. And I remember so clearly this experience of, okay, I went to India to do a treatment, and for health treatment called Panchakarma, I advise everyone to do. It's really good. And after maybe the 3 or 4 days that I was there, I finally start to feel the inner speed to go down. Which is the same thing that I would feel when I would go into a retreat. That in the beginning, there is still the speed from where we're coming, then it takes some time for it to come down. So then I committed myself, which I'm happy to say that somehow I'm being able to follow. I'm not going back to the original speed. Because it's not good for me. And it's not good for the people around me. And the reason why I share this with you is because I believe this is a common issue. It's not that I was into this because something specific happened to me. I am simply into a system that is shared by many of us. So I said, no. I need to be able to do things, keeping my space, keeping my time, giving time to rest, giving time to reflect, giving time to elaborate. And one of the things that we really need is time to do nothing. Or what do you do today? Nothing. So good. Because these moments in which apparently we are not producing, they generate this inner process that allows our emotions to elaborate and our thoughts to elaborate. Because most of the decisions, the important decisions that we need to make, they are not only from the head. We need to look inside, we need to feel, we need to listen to our intuition. And to do that, it takes time to elaborate things. Also, creativity, to be creative. We need space to be creative. We need time, otherwise it won't happen. And when you look at the important discoveries, they were not done in the lab very often. You know, they were they're like, okay, watching an apple fall. There was not a specific experiment. It was having a nice walk in the forest. And so many things. And this reminds me of one phrase of Einstein. And let me see if I'm able to repeat it correctly, okay? Because I read it once, not so long ago. But a phrase that Einstein said was something like that. We have the servant, our servant that is our logic reasoning, is our servant. And we have the gift of intuition. We have the sacred gift of intuition and the loyal servant of logic. Loyal servant of logic. We are living in a society that more and more is giving value to the servant and forgetting the gift. And this was Albert Einstein. I remember that Einstein, one of the things that he did in order to find good ideas is what he called this 1 minute nap. He would put on his hand, something heavy, and he would hold like this, and he would try to fall asleep while thinking about that issue. You know? And then when he would start to fall asleep, it will make noise, and then he will wake up again. Because he found out that was in that state between sleeping and awake where he had the best ideas. It's a moment in which the mind is not trying to have control over things, and you let go somehow. You can get that through meditation, you can get that through relaxation. On my level, he found that through sleeping. So if we fall completely asleep, it would not be enough. He needed to, so he would hold this and he would be there thinking about relativity or whatever. And okay, go back again, you know. And my point is that these moments are so precious. When apparently we are not doing anything important. We are walking on the beach, or talking to a friend, or having a nice meal with someone, or maybe doing something that apparently is not that important. We are not working. But actually, that's very, very important moments. So, one thing is we need to diminish the speed and the amount of information that we receive. This is one of the first things. The second part, which I'm going to be very brief, we could go on for hours about it. But the second part is the question, where am I actually going? What do I truly want? But we are not able to make this question and find an answer until we don't stop a little bit running so much. What happens is that each one of us, we will never ever do something unless we really want it. The strongest force that moves us to do everything we do is desire, is passion, is what we want. And the question that I bring to myself again and again, and I share with you, is, what do I actually want? Which in other words is what I am doing with my life. Do I want to live my life just to find the most comfortable survival as possible? Or do I want to live my life as a means to realize something else? And my personal choice is, I don't care that much about what I do, about what I gain, but I really care very much about who I become and how I can actually interact with others and help others to become. This for me is the most important thing. And not long ago I was with my grandfather. He was 100 years old at that time. And I saw this, we were at his 100 years birthday, and most of the people were saying, wow, how incredible, so old, so well, so healthy, so stable mind, peaceful, patient, joyful, all true. But looks like when people make compliments as if something that came out of nothing, no? And if you ask to anyone, do you want to have a long and healthy life? What would we say? Yes. One of the last times before he passed away that he was in the hospital, he went to the hospital and he went to make, how do you call that, a TAC? No?
X-ray or scan.
A scan. So they said, oh, take out your denture. He said, they're all my teeth. I said, oh, how possible? No, actually, yes. He had never lost one tooth. For all his 100 years. And then he was, after a few days there, they started giving him soup. And then he got a bit nervous and he said, give me something to bite, otherwise I will lose my teeth. You know? And he was right. Until 2 weeks before he died, he was every day 1 kilo doing exercise. And trying to learn new things. I remember when he was in his 85 or something like that. And we were in Italy together, and he had his iPhone with him. And then at one point he was playing a game with the iPhone. And I looked and I said, Grandpa, do you like playing this game? He said, no. I said, why are you playing this game? He said, as you get old, the short-term memory starts to diminish. So I need to keep my mind trained to learn new things. That's why I'm playing the game. And actually, he was able to have a long life, healthy, mentally and physically. Why? Because he lived his life in that way. He cultivated that. So when I was that moment with him, the question that came to my mind is, okay, what kind of old person I want to become? And I asked myself, I want to be a calm and gentle or a nervous and tense person? I want to be satisfied or insatisfied? I want to be present or always anxious? And I think the answer is clear. So if I want to be that, I need to start working on it right now. I cannot be constantly anxious and answer bad about things and being nervous and wanting to become calm. The more I act in a certain way, the more I become that. It becomes part of my life. So we allow ourselves to dream who I want to be. And then the next step, which I thought is, okay, what kind of baby I want to be next life? I don't want to be a nasty baby, sorry for the term. Because not all babies are the same. Or not. At my experience, at least. Okay. There are some babies which are very nice to be together and some babies which is tough. Some small children that are very nice and kind and some children that they have some character there. Not so easy. Which we bring from one life to another according to Buddhism. So how can I assure myself that I will be a nice and kind baby? I need to develop that qualities now in order for me to bring them with me. So who do I want to be? And in other words, it's just changing the priority. The priority is not what I do. It's not what I gain, but it's who I am and who I become. And how the experiences that I go through in life influence who I become. Because very often we can go through experiences which maybe from a financial point of view it was very good. But then, I made a lot of money, but I am completely stressed, in a total burnout, and maybe it will take years if I'm able to recover, truly. So would you give your good quality sleep for money? I don't know. I believe not, truly. But this depends on the very basics of what is the paradigm in which we are. What are our priorities? The same thing as time. It's not a matter of having or not having, it's a matter of what is the priority that we give. So what do I want? What is more important for me, my health or my money? Is more important to be or to have or to do? And even when I think about the people around us, the more that what we can give the most to people, for example, what do we expect? What is the most important in a father or a mother? That they do many things for us, or that they are patient and caring and loving and a good example and present? I believe that having a father and a mother that are a good example of what we want to be, not in the sense of being the example, of teaching us that, of being there for us with that in beautiful qualities, that is much more of what they do. I don't know if it's clear. So in the same way, for me, for others, what I am actually is one of the most important ways of what I can give. Because, I can give you many gifts, I can do many things for you, but if I am nervous, if I am tense, if I'm angry, I'm actually harming you. On the other side, if I'm able to develop a state of calm, of peace, of joy, of satisfaction, of balance, of stability, that's what I'm giving. So what we become is not only a matter of our own experience, it's a matter of what we give to the world around us. You know? It's like I talk many times from a work perspective, I talk many times to people working in big companies, directors of some big companies, and I ask them, what actually gives more trouble in your company? The lack of knowledge in the people working or the lack of emotional stability? And everyone said the same, the lack of emotional stability. So if I would be the boss in a company, I would like to see in the curriculum before I take someone, how emotionally stable are you? You know, and if I have someone that don't have so much experience from a job perspective, but is someone that is stable, willing to learn, humble, but at the same time with a good self-confidence, kind, okay, I want you. The technical part I can make you learn. But if I have the person that has the best knowledge, but is completely arrogant and always nervous and anxious and so on, okay, no, better make your own business, don't come here. Because it's quite difficult to deal with finally. So also, even from a job perspective, what we are, it's more important than what we do and what we learn somehow. So this all comes to the point of asking ourselves, what is my priority? Okay, and I know that it's something very, very simple what we're talking about, but at the same time, it's something that or we do or we don't do. And because the life goes by so fast, no? Every day. Every day we are coming, 1 year is passing after the other like this. Like we are in 2025 now, coming. Almost there. You know, and it's really so fast. COVID was just, looks like yesterday, no? Okay, 5 years have passed. So life goes by fast. And if we don't take the reins of life in our hands and we direct the way how we want, we would end up simply consumed by our daily survival by itself. We'll be consumed by the news that we listen, by what happens around us, by the problems we need to solve. Today is this problem, tomorrow is that problem, and then there is vacation in between, you know, and then there is Sunday, I need to rest, and life is consumed by it. And it's not, life being consumed is not a problem. The problem is what I become as I consume my life. How do I transform myself into it? Because as all the situations that I go through, they end at one point, I continue. And I am deeply influenced by everything that I experience. So how do I experience it? How do I relate to it? Who I become from what I experience? And this depends on us. So, again, it's asking ourselves, what do we really want? And based on that, where do I put my energy? What are my priorities? Because this is, by the end of the day, what really makes the difference. And someone may say, oh, but this would mean that I would go against the current. You know? But when everything, you know, when everyone is in an unhealthy state, being healthy, even though it means to go against the current, I prefer to be the crazy one. And being healthy. Because the symptoms that we see are not few. They are more and more. And it's manifesting in the body, it's manifesting in society. And we are going through a moment of society that is not obvious. And I like just very, say, superficially to touch one subject which is connected to it, which is the fact that our brain and our body, the person, we work through the process which is called in English, use it or lose it. So the more we use an aspect of ourselves, the more we develop it. The less we use it, the less we have it. So physically it's like that. You know, I don't know how many times you have seen someone that because of a disease needed to stay in bed for a long time. The muscles completely, degenerate because they're not being used. And what happens is our brain is the same. If we stop using our memory, we lose our memory. If we stop doing calculations, we lose the capacity to do calculations. You know, I don't know how many of you do calculations without using a calculator or an Excel by mind. Okay, 2 people, 3, 4, 5, okay, 6, that's above average. But most of the times we don't, and if we are asked to do, we doubt that our capacity of doing it. Why? Because we stopped doing it. It's not because we never learned. Is there anyone here that have never learned how to do calculation in school? No, we all learned it. But we stop doing it. Then we lose the capacity to do it. But the point is that in the same way that we need to go to the gym because we created technology in order to make our life more easy. So the things that before we needed to do physically, now we don't need anymore, right? Before we need to go to pick up water to have water at home, right? So we needed to walk to the river or to wherever was the main water well, and then we needed to pump the water and bring it up, and it was a whole process, okay? Very important actually, because when going to pick up water, you meet someone, you have a talk, you think about something, you have the process to elaborate the things that are going on. Well, actually important moments of life. Anyhow, now we don't need to go through all of that. We just need to turn something. Water coming out. Easy. Heat. Put something on. You know, even now it's more we have intelligent heating, you know. Understand when you are at home, when you're not at home. Even don't need to turn on and off. You know, you have heating. Transport. You don't need to walk. I was talking 2 days ago to one nephew of Lama Michel Rinpoche, and they were talking about the brother of Lama Michel Rinpoche, that is the father of Tönla. And he was saying that when he was 75, he went to do circumambulation of the Kailash mountain. And he did in 1 day, 1 kora, 3 days, 3 circumambulations. It's 52 kilometers, each circumambulation, from 5,000 to 5,600 meters. You know, most of us, to do it in 3 days, we almost die. And most of the people that very fit and so on. Why? Why he could do? Because he passed his whole life walking. Since he was young, he never stopped walking. He went from Tibet to India walking, back 4 times. He was every day walking from here and there, all the time walking. Well, he's used to it. You know, we need to walk in the gym. So we created, why do we have the gym? Because we created technology to substitute the physical effort that we need to do in life. I don't think someone working in the fields need the gym. Right? Now we are doing the same thing with the mind. We are creating and using technology to substitute the mental effort. We don't need to research anymore. We don't need to analyze anymore. We don't need to write anymore. Someone called AI will do for us. And the crazy thing is that the easier it gets, the more we like it, and the easier we want it. And I don't care so much about AI, but what I care is about our mental health. And what I know is that when we stop using some ability of ours, we will lose it. But when it comes to make our important decisions of our lives, you know, we need to use our own abilities of understanding, of analyzing, of putting things together, of relating things, and so on. And when we lose that capacities, we'll become more and more vulnerable, more and more easily manipulated. So we need to understand that when we do something, it's not just what I do, it's what I am training myself into. When I am writing, I'm training myself into writing every time I write. When I'm reading, it's the same thing, and so on. So what we do in our daily life, we should need to be careful not only to focus into the result of what we are producing, but what are we becoming in the process of producing that? Which is the same thing with the environment. If we only focus on the product that we want to do, we don't care if we destroy the environment, as long as we have our own profit. When we see everything that comes as a result of that process, and we give importance to that, then the whole thing changes. So, please, we look back into, our daily habits, the things that we do. And we need to be careful not to try to make things more and more easy, and by the end of the day become more and more difficult. This is I wanted to just touch this subject because it's connected. Okay? And I am not against technology at all. I think we need to use it in the right way, but we need to be careful not to lose our capacities. That's the main point. Otherwise, I'm quite sure that in the near future, we will need to create gyms for the mind. A place where you go to do exercises in order to keep your mind sharp and keep the memory good and keep the capacity to understand each other and to judge and this and that. We will need to do gyms for the mind to train our emotional tool capacities and all of this. Actually, I think it's not a bad business. Okay? It's very dystopian somehow, but I think it's something that is coming. But when it comes to ourselves, again, just come again back to the question, because questions are more important than answers often. And the question is, where am I going? What am I doing with my life? And maybe you have a wonderful answer and you're happy about it. I'm happy for you. Maybe not fully. And then we can check, okay, which is a better direction? And I believe that the best direction is not the direction of what I do, but who I become. And when I look into this world, that's what we most need. We need people that are peaceful, that are gentle, that are loving, that are kind, that are altruistic, that have wisdom. This is what we need. The world needs the most. Because when we look at all the conflicts in the wars that are there, the conflicts in society, the problems with the environment, what is the main cause creating all of this? Selfishness. The obsession with self-gratification. The I and the my. So what this world needs? More people with love and kindness and altruism, the ability to see each other, to love each other. That's what we need the most, truly. So, if we are able to be what we want this world to become, then we are already doing a lot. Which in other words means we cannot solve the problems of this world, but we can be part of the solution. Because it doesn't work to criticize the war and to be violent at home. So we need to apply what we want to see in our life, and then it's okay. And the good news is that it's possible. It's something that we can do. It's a matter of having awareness and acting with true compassion or true, affection and love towards ourselves. So we shouldn't victimize ourselves, not even the victim of our own selves. oh, I shouldn't be like that, but because you know what I did, now I am like this, and I shouldn't be like this, so bad that I am like this, because I am lazy, because I am angry, because I am this. It doesn't take us anywhere. Yes, I am what I am, good or bad, whatever. But what can I do with what I am? So I embrace myself and I direct myself to what I want to become. And this, just to conclude, one concept, which is, it doesn't matter where we want to go. The nearest place to start our journey is where we are. It's like, if I say, I want to go to Borobudur in Indonesia. Yes, it would be so nice. Yeah, but you know, if I would have already been in Singapore or in Jakarta, it would be easier. Sure. But I am in Holland. Okay? So as long as I am thinking, oh, it would be better to be there, I'm never going to reach. I need to start from where I am. So it's useless to say, oh, it would be so nice if this would be like this, if that would be like that. Oh, but the way how things are, it's not possible. We need to start from where we are. It's the shortest way. You know? The shortest way is starting from where we are. Because if I want to start from where I am not, it will take longer, because by the end of the day I need to come where I am. Okay? So it doesn't matter where we want to go, the shortest way to go is starting from where I am. And the quickest path is the one that I am able to do. It comes to my mind, you're reaching there in front of a big mountain and you want to reach the top of the mountain, and there is this big wall that you can actually go and escalate the wall. You know, and climb this big wall. And you see some people climbing the wall. And you say, oh, it's 5 days climbing. Wow, not so long. And the walking path, oh, there is a very comfortable walking path, slowly going up, is 5 years. Which one you choose? You like to climb 5 days, or you like to walk 5 years? Which one is the fastest one? For me, climbing is not the fastest, because I will fall down after a few meters and I will stay in the floor completely broken. And until I'm able to recover, it will take more than 5 years. And if I say, no, climbing is faster, so I need to go to learn how to climb. And I need to train myself to climb. It will take longer than the 5 years, probably. So the fastest way is the one that I'm able to do. So for me, walking is faster than climbing. But if I knew how to climb, but I don't. So I walk. So we respect our own limits and we go within it, but we go. And there is no hurry to reach the final result. There is hurry to walk in the right direction. Like there is no hurry to reach world peace, but there is hurry to be in the direction of reaching inner peace in order to reach world peace. Yes. So we go slowly and in the right direction. This is what is, for me, very, very important. I didn't want today to teach anything to anyone. That was not the intention. But was to share with you some thoughts that for me have been of benefit, and some reflections that I see looking around myself and looking into my own self. Because the thing is that we are very similar to each other. You know, in a way we are very different. Yes, we are individuals and each one of us is different and we respect the differences of each other, yes. But we are much more similar than different. And once we see something that works for one, most probably it will work for the most of us. And these things I wanted to share with you are some thoughts and some experiences that for me have been very meaningful. And they are simple things, but I request you, please look into it, reflect upon it, and try to see how you bring it to your life or not. If you feel that it's meaningful, if you feel that it's true, then bring it to your life. Otherwise, life passes by. And when they, oh yes, I heard the Lama said this was nice. I don't care if it's nice or not, as long as it's useful. You know. And yesterday I remembered one phrase that the day before yesterday I remembered actually, and I said yesterday. I was with one friend, and he has been for a long time in Buddhism and looking for ways how to relate to the world in a better way and how to change his mind in many levels and so on. And one day he came to me and he said, you know something, Lama? My life has been for a long time very shitty, and it is still shit, my life. But the difference is that now I am happy. And if we go into details, he always had financial difficulties, and he continued, when he was talking to me, he continued to have financial difficulties. He always had family problems, and the family problems were still there, but he learned how to deal with it in a different way. And he was much more peaceful and more joyful, and he knew how to live life in a much better way. In other words, is as long as we try to make the world perfect, we will not be able to do it. It doesn't matter how successful we are. But in the moment that we put effort to train ourselves to live the world in a harmonious and positive way, you know, then this can truly sustain a state of better well-being. If things go better, good. If things don't go in the best way, if we are in a good position inside, we can deal with them quite well. And this is one of the signs for me of a person that has reached a certain level of maturity or mental health, let's call it in this way. A person with good mental health is a person that is able to deal with the difficulties of life without losing his or her own balance and harmony. And that's what I wish for myself and every one of you. But I'm sorry, but wish fulfilling is not enough. We need to work hard for it. And in order to work hard, we need to wish it. We need to prioritize it. We need to put it as our main goal. Physical and mental health. Physical, mental, environmental health. That's what we need, most of all. And we need to take care of it. So that's the main point. So we can stop walking fast and being in a hurry, going around the same point. No, running in the treadmill, go down from the treadmill, breathe, and look where we are going, what do we want to do. But just to remind ourselves once again, before giving us a clear direction, we need to stop, at least for a moment. Because if we don't stop, we will choose a direction only on a superficial conceptual level, and it won't make any difference in our life, truly. Until, for some of us, our life and our body will make us stop through a disease. And we don't need that, truly. So, when we stop and when we are able to breathe and to be present and to reflect and have no fear to look at our own eyes and to see ourselves and to deal with our fears and our shadows and to be there with ourselves, then we can really make a decision of direction more deep. But for that we need to create space. Okay. So I wanted to conclude with one phrase that always comes with me. I always take it with me, which is connected with what we just said. And it was from a master called Kundan Champeliang. And in Tibetan it goes by Chego Chego Samni Nishu Song, Majung Majung Samni Nishu Song, Aka Aka Samni Nishu Song, Tetar Ngang Longor Trukchulong Misetong Pasebe Namdarin. In English it will be something like that. Thinking of doing it, 20 years passed by. Oh, why I couldn't do it. Oh, why I couldn't do it. 20 years passed by. Oh, sorry. Thinking of doing it, 20 years passed by. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. 20 years passed by. Oh, why I didn't do it. Oh, why I didn't do it. 20 years passed by. In such way, 60 years passed by. That's the biography of an empty life. If we continue to victimize ourselves, it's not going to happen. So we need to take ourselves and say, I can do it. Small steps, very small. With kindness, with love towards ourselves, we can do it. So that's what I request. Do your little step. Whatever direction you feel it's the best, but give the space to look upon yourself and to say, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to stop just going into an inertia that life has brought me and that society is putting me on. Okay? Because if this inertia was really good, wonderful, but that's not what it seems. Okay? So thank you very much. I will make one short dedication, as traditionally we always make one motivation in the beginning and a dedication in the end, but maybe before that, just like to know if anybody like to make a particular question or maybe one comment or like to share something. Yes?
Because you said the force in the world is so strong to rush and to, where do we get the force or the strength to stop it? Because even if you try, all the conditions make it seem to be so difficult to stop.
Yeah.
So where we get this energy or strength or force to make that change, really to make that difference?
Yeah, to make that change, first thing we need is awareness. First thing we need is to generate the awareness. Then we need to take advantage of the moment of awareness. And personally, what I did is I started to use a magical tool called calendar. Agenda. Because, it's a magical tool because once you write something there, then you need to do it. I don't know, at least for me it happens like this. Oh, today I need to do this. It's written there. And I started to create time in my agenda, which is sacred. Time to rest. Time to do things more slow. Time to do nothing. And in the beginning it was really difficult because I was used always to be doing something, and even there was a feeling of guilt of not being doing something. Now I want to add more days like this in the week, but I'm not so many. But it's the fact of allowing ourselves to have these moments, and we need to create them. We need to allow ourselves to say, okay, I take 1 day off, 2 days off. We have in our society structured already. We have the Sunday, we have the weekends. It's something that is already structured there. But we need to start taking this space which is there and using it with quality. So we choose to do things where it will really help us. Okay, for example, for me, I like very much going for a walk in the mountains. Okay, that's not possible in Holland. But you can go for a walk somewhere else. But, in the forest or whatever, okay? But try to make space when you take the Sunday or when you take the weekend or when you take any day where you can say, okay, here I'm able to make my time. And then this is priority. I will make time for that. I will dedicate that date for my meditation, for my study, for my being in nature, for just resting. I will make time. Oh, but I have so many things to do. Yes, next day. Because otherwise we are always adding things up to do. This reminds me of Lama Lawan. And during the time in which I said before in the beginning that I had this idea that I was always in a hurry, and I was saying I don't have time, one day I was going in Milan and Lama Lawan was there, and then I was passing by the corridor. He was sitting there watching TV, having tea. And then Lama Lawan came and said, okay, sit with me. Have some tea. And I said, Gela, sorry, I have no time. I need to do something. And he looked to me and he said, sit. You will always have to do something. You know? And I thought, that's true. It was not something that I had to do that if I did it 1 hour after something bad would happen. It would be the same, actually. But there was this urge of me being there in this hurry that I need to do something. You know? And the other thing that comes together with it, I don't know if it's necessary part of the question, but another thing that I saw is that being busy doesn't mean doing something. Okay. And one example for me is one journalist that did an experiment some years ago. She chose to use internet only half an hour a day. She literally turned off the internet connection the rest of the day. And in her job, being a journalist, she needs to do research, she needs to answer to emails and all of that. So in the morning, she would have 15 minutes or half an hour, and in the evening, more or less the same. Turn on, receive the emails, download. During the day, she would take the time to answer it, to look at it. She would do short research, and then she would write the articles during the day. And she saw how much she was productive when she was all the time online and when she was only 1 hour or half an hour a day. And actually, when she was less online, she was much more productive. The emails had a better quality. She was able to read them better because she only had 2 moments to read the emails, morning and evening, finish. And she had the time of research was research, time of writing was writing. And we create also a dynamic which is of that of doing many things, and then gives the sensation that we are actually producing and doing a lot, when actually sometimes we are just running around. So I think there is this need of diminishing the amount of information that we have and, you know, going in the opposite direction of multitasking. And do one thing after the other. And allow yourself to create time and enjoy it. You know, because there is a sense of guilt that comes together with it also. And the way to... One of the reasons why there is a sense of guilt coming with it is because we are naturally, we want to do, we feel that is right that everybody is doing. And because everyone is running, we feel that there is a request for ourselves to run also. And naturally, I don't know, but we have this idea that if we are not running, we are not doing. And that's exactly the opposite. So we really need to make this effort in the other way. But the first step is awareness. The second step is action. Action means make time, take your agenda. Right, this day is my day for forest walk. Okay, no mountain, okay. Forever, or otherwise welcome to Albagnano. Okay, we do forest walk. Then that day is a very important day for a meeting, for this, for that. Oh, I'm busy. What do you have to do? Oh, I have to take care of my mental and physical health. Very important appointment. What do you need to do? Oh, I don't tell you, that's secret. I need to walk in the forest. Oh, but there is a marriage ceremony, I cannot go. Because if we don't give priority, we are eaten by everything else. You know, we are completely consumed by so many things pushing from here and there. It's like this. This is my experience, at least. When I went to India to do the treatment, I had full scheduled. And I said, okay, I need to take care of my health. So I canceled everything that I had in that period, and I went and I did. And life continued as before, but we're more healthy. So sometimes we need to make time for things, you know, otherwise it simply won't come by itself. This is how I see. Which doesn't mean giving up our responsibilities. It's meaning trying to have more quality time. I think this is one of the important things. Any other question, or someone like to share or say something? Okay.
One more question. I know there are some doctors here in the room. also speaking of myself as a doctor, I really find it difficult because every question is let's say a request is a question about someone who's suffering, and that I often see for myself and also for my colleagues that we are so overwhelmed with the amount of these requests, and this sense of guilty is even don't want to say even more, but compared to the person that you have to say no to.
Mhm.
You have some suggestions also in that regard?
I can just share my own experience. When I was in the beginning in Italy, I tried to satisfy every request. I am not a doctor, but many people suffering need advice here, need attention there, and all the time something here and there. And I tried to satisfy every wish. So I was sleeping not much, traveling all the time. And in one point, I needed to say to myself, if I want to do this in a long run, I need to give priority. And in the moment that I'm doing something to make space and to take care of my well-being, I'm also doing it for others. Because what happens is that when we are always running, we stop growing at some point. We end up living with the previous experience. We are not allowing ourselves to grow somehow. I don't know if it's clear, this.
Running behind.
Yeah. We are just in a state in which we are somehow just living with the experiences and the knowledge that we gained before, when we had time and calm. The insights and experiences. So if we want to help better, we need to allow ourselves to go deeper. It reminds me of one doctor that I used to go sometimes in Nepal. His name was Manu Vajra. He was a doctor of the king. Very humble Ayurvedic doctor. And he had such a level of intuition. I think Tutla went to him, no?
Yes.
And then and he would have this very simple studio. And it was a little bit uncomfortable for our mentality because he would be sitting, the other person in front that he was checking, and then there was this narrow corridor where everybody waiting was there, but you were in front of him talking to the other patients, so there was zero privacy. And I went once there, and there was a person that went with me. And when I finished my consultation, he looked at the other person, and you, and the person said, no, I just came to accompany. And he's like, but don't you have this and that symptom? And you're not like this and like this? And he described perfectly what the person had, no? And then the person was a little shocked, and he said, but how can you tell these things? He said, I see how you walk. I look at your face. I see the color of your tongue. I see your eyes. I can feel you. I can see what is going on with you. In order to have this capacity, in order for you as a doctor to be able truly to see your patient and have the intuition that will help you to find the right way to deal, you need your own space. You know? And when we look at this type of doctors that I met, they would normally wake up at 3 in the morning to meditate for 3 hours before they start their job. And they have ways how they make their own space, you know. And the fact is that when you create that space, that's when you are growing and you're allowing yourself to grow to be able to give more. So it's not a matter of just, how to say, not looking at people and just going through entertainment. It's a matter of allowing ourselves to grow, allowing ourselves to, let's say, go through the process of creativity, of intuition, of connection. Otherwise, we continue to live on what we have developed before. I don't know if this is clear. Okay? So that's why, you know, it's a way of saying, okay, it's an investment for others. The moment, the days off that you take is an investment for your patients. It's not, you're not taking something out from anyone. I think this is also important. Okay. The same thing is with the family. The days that you take by yourself is an investment for your family. You're not taking time out of someone. You know, you need to be well in order to be able to give. This is part of life. Okay. So I would like to say thank you to everyone for being here. and the possibility of sharing this moment together. And as it is said, you're all here with an open heart and a clear mind, giving me this opportunity to share these things. And for me, every time I have this opportunity to share, my experience is that it's a moment in which I allow myself to reflect upon these things. So it's very precious for myself also. So I believe that I receive a lot. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And please, if there is anything that you felt it's meaningful, do whatever you can to bring it to your life truly. Okay? So we make a short dedication. And just tomorrow we will be doing 2 days of practice. And these are techniques that were taught originally by Buddha and later developed in the centuries that came afterwards, which are practices of meditation focused on specific types of energy and characteristics. So the one of tomorrow is called White Tara. It's a practice that Lama Michel Rinpoche taught us, and has the main focus into focusing in our state of health. So we have an archetype of health that we connect to, and somehow we connect ourselves to that healthy state, to that energy of good health. And then there is a mantra part and visualization and so on. But what we are doing basically is allowing ourselves to connect to that state of good health that we want to reach. Okay, I'm translating it in a simple manner. Okay, and then the next day we will do the practice of Tara Chittamani, which is a more specific practice, which is always but the 2 days related to the female energy, the manifestation of enlightenment within the female state, but which is both for men and women, and which is mainly the energy of action and at the same time protection of fear, because action comes from the fact of eliminating uncertainty. So this is the connection. Tara is connected with this energy of having certainty, of eliminating fear, and being able to flow with action in a positive way. And we will talk more about this, and we will do the actual empowerment, which means the transmission of the practice and so on. Okay? So just to make short explanation of what we will do the next 2 days. So we'll start tomorrow morning, and then White Tara. Day after tomorrow we do Green Tara. Okay.
All will also be streamed, and you can also look afterwards for the ones who have to go home. So no worries, it's all recorded.
The only thing is that initiation, as we will do, you can look at it afterwards, but it's not valid as an empowerment unless you do real time. You need to be possibly physically present, if not at least lifetime, because there is something that goes beyond the physical, the words that you listen. It's something that goes beyond. Okay? So we do our dedication. As Lama Michel Rinpoche sometimes used to say, may the big problems become small, may the small disappear, may the big conflicts become small conflicts, may the small conflicts disappear. And as the prayer from Shantideva, in all directions, whatever sick or suffering, body and mind there may be, may through the power of the positive energy that we have here generated, may they reach a state of an ocean of well-being and happiness. Jetsun lame kutse rapten chin nam karatin le chokchur gepa dan lo san tembe drume sasumgi drowe munse taktu ne gyurchi kewa kuntu yanda lama dan drame cheki pela longche chin sadan lamge yente rabzone dorje change kopa nyur torsho nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin yinsen taktu delek pe kuncho sumki chingi lop kuncho sumki ngodrub tsol kuncho sumki tashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and
sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Bij zonsopgang en zonsondergang, bij nacht of middag, mogen de juwelen ons de zegeningen schenken. Mogen zij ons helpen alle realisaties te verwerven en het pad van ons leven besproeien met variërende tekens van voorspoed.
Bij zonnenaufgang, de
Abraham, nacht oder mittags, möge die drei Wege uns den Segen gewähren, mögen sie uns helfen, alle Verwicklungen zu erlangen und unsere Lebenswege mit verschiedensten Segenszeichen besprengen.
Thank you very much.
Coffee tea from 10 on or 9:30. We start at 10:30.